Let's go to work. Here we go. Hi, my name is Chen. I'm the CEO for Geoteaming, and you are here in virtual team building. So one of the things that, one of the things is, why are you here? And I took all of the responses on here. By the way, which is really great, Mrs. Tennis, you're gonna love this. 25 people replied, and this is the number of people that we have on now. And that's actually, so far seems to be 50% participation rate based on registration is what's happening in the real world. Anyways, I took all of your words and I put them into a word cloud. And so obviously the great part is all of you are here for virtual team building. And some of you are here for some other ideas like Facebook and Switch and Tech Adverse and programs. But I just thought it would be interesting for you to see these. The words that are bigger are words that are mentioned more, and the words that are smaller are other words that may have been only mentioned like once or twice. Anyways, those are the different reasons that you're here, and that's what I'm here to do. I've been studying online and virtual team building for over 20 years now. I am the author of this book, 50 Digital Team Building Games, and that was published in 2012. And I'm happy to tell you officially that last Friday I signed a contract to rewrite this book. So I'm excited to offer pre-sale to each of you later. It's not even out yet. But anyways, things that the coronavirus has sometimes as a silver lining. So the first thing I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to first spend the first little time and talk to you about why experiential education or learning by doing works better than if I just talk to you straight for 60 minutes. So just know that you are not on a normal Zoominar or webinar. I am not going to talk to you for 60 minutes, right? We are going to work together here as a team. So number one is I'm going to show you why it works. And then second is I'm going to show you why it works better in a classroom. And third, I'm going to show you why self-facilitating teams produce the greatest ROI, and I'll explain that in just a second. So in this chart here, this black line with black dots is a TDI, or a Team Development Index. This is an assessment given to the entire team and aggregated into a single number. And the higher number says that your team is performing better as a team. They're communicating more, they're trusting more, right? They're creative and problem solving. And as that team development index goes up, this line here is the time it takes to complete a complex task. They were able to drop it from about 46 minutes to about 27 for a 40% decrease. And if you're the manager of a team, right, you are already paid the salary. The only way to get more efficiency from your team is to have it perform complex tasks in less time and give you more time to do something else that's better, more creative, more worthy of what you are paying them. So this second example just shows the difference between the classroom, me talking to you for 60 minutes, versus experiential, you doing something during that 60 minutes. So this X line here is the group, the control group. They did nothing, they took the assessment, nothing moved. In this other, the open dot, the white dot, is that they took a classroom, right? And they got really excited and they made 10 points of gain and then they went back. So let's just check. Have any of you ever taken a class, got so excited about it, and then put the book, remember when we used to get a book in training or a binder and stuck it on the shelf and then you did nothing with it? If you did that, raise your hand. Let me see. Florence did it, John did it, Brigitte, Patrick. Anuradha, she's like the best student. Oh, Leanne, hey, Leanne has learned to raise her hand. That's great. But Anuradha is like, she's used every bit of training she's ever gotten because she's from New Delhi, India. Anyways, so it works better than the classroom. Now here's the last one. Self-facilitating teams produce the greatest ROI. What does that mean? So self-facilitating says after you do something as a team that you allocate some amount of time, right, to facilitate yourself. And what I mean by that, it can be as easy as 3 questions. I'll ask them later today. What? So what? Now what? So what is what happened during our team process? The next one is so what? So what does that mean, right? So what did I learn? And then the last one is now what? Now what am I going to do? What am I going to do different based upon this? And even if you make one small change every meeting with your group, you'll get 1% better. And you can see, like we've been watching a lot of exponential curves, that 1% will aggregate over time and turn into a big game. So in this case here, you see this team did nothing and they got nothing. These three teams did a professional design team building event and they got a big game. Now here's where it changes. The black squares is they did nothing. And so they got, you can see how it goes back from where this game came back to 0. And I like to say this, teams are like software. They constantly need updates. And if you don't do this update, this is why a team will gravitate back to whatever your baseline is. Now, the thing is, we probably know, all right, we have a lot of teachers on here, that if you follow up and maybe do some quizzes or some interactivity, like, hey, remember that training we did? These teams did some form of follow-up, like an hour or two every 3 to 4 weeks. And they were able to retain 80% of the gains of this professional team building event. But this team here with the black dots, they learned self-facilitation. They were not only able to regain the gains from a professional team building event, they were able to meet and exceed those gains by using self-facilitation. This is the holy grail of team building. I've shown this for over 23 years. I've had companies that actually paid me for follow-up or for self-facilitation, and then they went on to not schedule it. So if you are team builders or team leaders and you want the greatest return, this is really the secret. I'll show you how to do it. All right, so now my solution for virtual team building is something that I felt, when we had all this coronavirus stuff happen. I've had 10 events, and by the way, I had number 11 and 12 email me today and tell me that they're either going to postpone or cancel. And so my solution for this is in an acronym that you will hopefully remember by the end of this meeting. And that acronym is GRR. Go ahead and say it with me, GRR. Florence's dog is saying GRR. Princess is going to say GRR. So what does GRR stand for? Let's find out. The first G stands for goals, right? Your pre-corona goals and your post-corona goals most likely are different. And I'm going to show you, even if you think you're operating on the same goal, it is so easy in virtual land to have people approach the goal from different ways so that it makes the team very inefficient. So aligning your goals is one of the keys to getting your virtual teams to work. Only 5.9% of the companies communicate their goals daily. If you get nothing else from this call, just do this one thing. Send an email every morning to your team and say what the goals are. You can add updates of like how much progress you're making, and ideally you should be able to communicate that we achieved this goal and this goal and this goal. You do that, you're in the top 6% of all the companies according to this survey. So, one of the other challenges, of course, is that you're working from home, and if you're on Zoom or Team or whatever platform you are, this is what you're challenging with, right? You've got dogs crawling over, or you got a removal of your cat, right? You got your kids coming in. It's so great. I was on a call with Saudi Arabia, and he had his 2 daughters with him, in his Zoom like that. And that just doesn't happen in his office, but it happens here on Zoom. So those are the challenges that you have to work with. The first R is for rules, right? We've had the largest disruption to date of our rules, and we all knew how to work face-to-face in the rules of engagement and how to meet with that. But those rules are different now that we're here in virtual land. And so like if Patrick and John and all the librarians have a sidebar conversation, they'll talk at the same volume that I am, and it is very disruptive for the meeting. And so we have to learn and establish a new set of rules. This is each of your opportunity to become leaders, is to help establish these rules and get your group being productive again. 39% of all surveyed employees believe that their people in their own organization don't collaborate enough. And we find that they don't collaborate is because they don't have a set of established rules. So, it's amazing though, this coronavirus is causing all sorts of other amazing collaboration. I've had chance already to collaborate with Hong Kong and Taiwan and Saudi Arabia that I normally would not ever get. And so that's the other part as a leader, is to recognize you have an opportunity for new collaboration. You just have to take advantage of it. The next R is for rhythm. So teams to perform must have a rhythm. And we've had, again, the largest disruption. Imagine this group that you're seeing in front of you. If they have if they're not in rhythm, right, they would all be bumping into each other, stepping on each other's toes. And that's what your team metaphorically is doing online if they don't have a team rhythm. 97% of all employees and executives believe that the lack of alignment, which I find is a lack of rhythm within a team, it will impact the outcome of a task or project. If you have a task or project not being achieved, it is most likely that you're missing alignment and rhythm with your team. Once you have all those goals, rules, and results, goals, rules, and rhythm, then you can create results. Look, I am a big car fan. I have a Porsche Boxster. I love watching F1 on Netflix. And look at what happens, right? 20 people, right? They have the same goal. They know the rules of engagement, right? They have a rhythm about their work. They are able to service a car completely, 4 new tires, full of gas, whatever else, and many other functions that they do. And they do it all in less than 2 seconds. This is what I want for your team. I want you to be able to learn the skills to get your team and produce results like this with your team. So I'm going to believe that today's goal is that your goal, for me, my goal is to help you host a productive team meeting and establish best team practices online. If you have additional goals, I look forward about hearing with them. So one of the ways that we do that is with what I call Go Ahead Caller. So this is the first team building initiative I'm going to teach you. And so this came from my dream of wanting to be a radio DJ in the past. And so let's say Bridget calls in from Whidbey Island. And so she goes, hey, this is Bridget from Whidbey Island. And I'm like, go ahead, Bridget. So this is why it's called Go Ahead Caller, is that we're going to establish some new rules for speaking. So the rules are this. I'm going to establish a speaking rule. If you're visual, you're going to raise your hand. If you're not visual, you can raise your virtual hand. Leanne has learned how to raise her virtual hand. Thank you. Or you can chat or unmute and then say your name. So once I do that, I'm going to acknowledge everybody who I see, and I'm going to establish an order. What we're going to do is we're going to come in and say your name, your location, and what is one of the team challenges that you have going on now. So again, as an example, if I would raise my hand, I would say, go ahead, John. And I'd say, my name is John. I'm from Seattle, Washington. And my challenge is I've got to instruct 11 people online in the next 48 minutes. Okay, perfect. Let's find out who else is here. So who would like to introduce themselves? Let's start with John. And John, you're on mute. It's one of my favorite things to say on Zoom. There we go.
Hi, I'm John. I'm in Monroe, Washington. I work for the Sammamish Library and King County Library System. What was the third thing? Why I'm here, or one thing I want?
A team challenge you're having.
Team challenge. We're new at meeting online with myself and my direct reports. We're going to do it for the very first time this week during this 5th week of our library closure. And I'm pretty insecure about leading the meeting because I have not, so far, the norms that we've established in other teams that I'm on in my system have been all over the board. So I'm really anxious to learn some rules that I can not only implement, but actually suggest to other teams as well.
Perfect. Thank you, John. And you reminded me of something else too. I had a CEO on one of my early meetings. This meeting made him recognize that he had not yet had an all-team meeting. He had all those one-on-one conversations, but had not yet had an all-team meeting. And his team was feeling disconnected. Imagine that. So perfect. Thank you, John. Who else would like to go? Let's go to Mrs. Tennis and then Debbie Ann.
All right, my name is Bridget Tennis. I am an 8th, 9th, 10th grade teacher in Lake Washington School District. And we are going to be starting Microsoft Teams next week. And my big, I guess, challenge is going to be managing 30 students at the same time and also keeping them engaged because their attention span at those ages are about nanoseconds.
Nanoseconds is right. And, you know, thank you so much, Mrs. Tennis. It's my tradition to call her Mrs. Tennis because that's what her students are taught to call her. And, you know, watch your engagement during this time, okay? Because this is one of the things that I'm trying to show you is how can you stay engaged for 60 minutes or more online? It is a challenge, and it is possible. Okay, who would like to go next? Let's go to Debbie Ann. Oh, that's right, Debbie Ann in New York.
Hi, John. I am Debbie Ann from New York, and I work with a nonprofit, and we go into schools, and we are not at this time able to go in and push in on the teachers' classes because I teach an individualized program for health and the environment. But I want to be ready and be able to lead a meeting when the time comes because I'm sure it will. So that's my challenge right now, is they're not up to it yet.
And for those who don't know, Debbie Ann has two amazing experiences. Number one, she is a Zumba expert, so if you love to dance, you want to hang out with Debbie. And the number two is she actually was exposed to somebody who had coronavirus, and so she went on 14-day quarantine and is negative of symptoms. So thank you, Debbie Ann. So glad that you're here.
Very long time ago now.
It feels like forever, but it was two weeks ago. All right, let's go to Leanne. Leanne Dowd.
Hello. I was gonna say good morning, but it's not morning anymore. I, along with John, also work for King County Library System in our Kent branch. I'm in Seattle. And I had my first team meeting for my direct reports and also hosted a larger regional drop-in meeting last week. So I'm interested. The regional drop-in meeting was lovely. It was meant to be social and just a chance to connect, and that's for the people who were able to be there. That's what it was. And we did not break teams, which I was really excited about because there were 30 of us out of 77, which isn't bad. I'd like to do another one meeting for my direct reports, and I am concerned about how to keep people engaged who have limited access. We just got the ability to do call-in for Teams meetings, which means my folks who don't have internet access can join the meeting that way. Yeah. But they will just be audio. So, and really our goals for those meetings are really about connection more than task accomplishment. So that's part of what I'm thinking about.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Leanne. And some of the techniques I'm showing you have been pioneered and tested over 20 years using only audio conference. So I will make sure and show that to you before the end, okay? Let's go to Chuck. Chuck, hi, I believe. Hopefully I said that correct. Chuck, are you there?
Okay, John?
There you go. Chuck is in the sunny place. Where are you calling in from, Chuck?
Well, I decided to take a break and get out to the San Juan Islands today, working remotely. So it's a pretty rough place to be.
And tell me who you work for.
So the challenge is similar to the last caller in that I work for a large construction company, and we have people spread out all over the country. The projects I deal with usually have 1,500 workers on site at any given time. And now we're in a new situation where we have a project where there's only 50 people on site at any given time. And we have to try to continue to engage the team, have team building activities. Tomorrow we need to have we're doing a virtual lunch just as a try, because I'm used to being in Utah today, not in the San Juan. So it's one of these things where trying to figure out how to be productive in that at a time when people are fairly stressed out about how we're trying to brave this new world we're in.
Perfect, Chuck. Thank you so much for joining in. And if you want to, I'll send you invitations to, I run a happy hour every Wednesday and Friday. It's open to anybody. It's at 5 p.m. And again, what I'm demonstrating is how to run large scale meetings like that, right? And they really are, as connection points, a lot of my friends look at those happy hour meetings as therapy. They know that no matter what's happening in the week, they get a chance to check in with people they know. And that is part of somebody else talked to me earlier today about watching your mental health during this time, right? Nobody's stayed home this much. Exactly. And so it's a grand new experiment.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Chuck. And I love that you're enjoying the sun. Let's see, who would like to go next?
Yeah,
let's go to Patrick.
Yeah, Patrick from Akron, Ohio. The concerns we're having in terms of conducting any kind of an online meeting is staff sensitivity or reticence concerning security of platforms that most people are not familiar with. And concerns about their privacy, concerns about information that's available to people, concerns about getting Zoom bombed or other things like that. And so there's any number of voices out there among the staff that are advocating for alternate platforms, and there's just not a whole lot of time between the time we're dealing with what we need to get done for operations and to ramp up back to service to be able to study and explore any of these platforms that are out there that we're not familiar with.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. You know, platform choice is so important right now. And as you can recently heard, Zoom has gone through a whole mess of security stuff. If you haven't heard, they froze all their features. Mrs. Tennis is saying that, you know, technically they can't use it. There are some medical places who are and who aren't using it. So investigating this is really important. But more importantly, most platforms take care of your stuff. Like right now, you see, I have had to password protect mine. I have never been Zoom bombed. I was going to actually put a poll to figure out which day I was going to get bombed, and then Zoom mandated password. So I keep my password, and so that's an important part for you to know. And what I was trying to get to is stabilize your platform so you can get to work. Arguing about the platform when you're not getting hacked doesn't really matter. Now, if you had something that was government sensitive or you know, you need to be whatever, right, you should encrypt it at a higher level. But once you get to the level of this, I left mine open, and the reason why I left mine open was I just wanted people to get there so we could get to work. And so that's why I started with the lowest requirements and I moved my way up. But keeping it the same and getting people on it is really key. Okay, who else would like to go? Okay, let's go to Florence.
Like I mentioned earlier, I work for a 2-year community college here in California. And in contrast to most folks, we actually have been using Zoom for quite a while. And it's available for all community colleges in California. I think our challenge, though, is people are feeling zoomed out. And so finally, when we get to our meeting, which we try to do on a regular basis, people are feeling really like, oh, one more meeting, you know. And it's important, I think, that we keep in touch, that we check in. And it's hard to rally the troops, so to speak, to be enthusiastic about attending the Zoom meetings. So I'm trying to find ways, I mean, the happy hour sounds like a good idea, to sort of to engage my colleagues and really see this as an important part of our work life.
Perfect, Florence. So here, actually, this was a tip given to me by one of my speaker friends, right? You know, you can make signs. This is something real. Your group is feeling this, right? I have a whole collection of signs here for like, let's see. Oh, this one's fun, right? Right. This is a normal one I was going to show you. Whoops, I was going to show you earlier. This is can't hear you, right? And of course we have our few people who are can't see. So anyways, we have a collection of signs, but we have different ways that you can make it fun. We've already had pajama day. We had sports day. I have to invent a few more because it looks like we're going to be here for a while. Anyways, look for those different techniques. I'll invite you to. You guys can stay afterwards. I will be on the call for up to 30 minutes afterwards if there's a question you have that I didn't answer during the session. Who else would like to go? We have a few more people to check in with. And now you'll see I am the most patient facilitator you ever met. This could be the longest, quietest call on Zoom today. Oh, there we go. Princess. Hello, Princess. Princess, I know you have a camera. There she is. You're on mute.
So this is my sign for can't hear you. Like
Hey.
ear thing, and then there's thumbs up and thumbs down.
That's right.
Our hand signs. Thank you and
applause. This is
and
applause, sign language. So
yeah.
if you know your sign language, it's actually very useful here in Zoom land.
Yes.
Okay, Princess, let's check in. Well, where are you
I'm
calling in
Princess
from?
Air Stewart. I reside in West Seattle. I am owner and chief consultant of Air Stewart Group, and we specialize in org development centered in diversity, equity, and inclusion. I am, my primary challenge is I am actually taking on a full-time role and onboarding to a new organization virtually. And so want to learn a little bit more about both maintaining engagement and leading. So everything that everyone mentioned before are all sort of concerns. And then onboarding into a new organization, I do have some concern about people being zoomed out or burned out from that, and wanting to be sensitive and inclusive to that reality is important to me.
Yeah, planning your Zooms is really key, man. If you experience a lot of Zoom calls, you will get the wide range of awkward to amazing. So watch what's awesome too, and then just borrow it, because you really, that's what, if you're the leader of that organization, right? That's the key. You want to make that place an engaging and exciting place to be. So thank you so much, Princess. Great to see you here. Who else would like to go? I bet somebody can unmute and let me know. Who have I missed? Who's keeping track?
This is Chris. I'd be happy to.
Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, so I'm Chris Fanning. I'm from Oklahoma. I work in a program called Sooner Star Early Intervention. We work with babies birth to 3 years old that have any developmental delay or disability. And we're a parent education program typically done in the home, but since all of this, we've obviously been pulled out of the home. So not only am I having to, first of all, just learn how to do Zoom and those kinds of things with clients, but then also with my staff. And we cover a pretty big geographic region. So I have staff in the same office as me, and I have staff up to an hour and a half away. And I have a brand new staff person. So that has all been a challenge, trying to just keep our team connected and in touch and supporting them, doing the same thing, learning how to do all this with our families, because it is definitely a new world for us.
So what do you think you need help the most with, Chris?
Really and truly, what I was really looking for is just ways to keep my team connected.
Okay, great, perfect. Team connected. Thank you so much, Chris. And let's go to India. Anuradha, how are you? And can you introduce yourself to the group?
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, John. Am I audible?
Yes, of course you are. Go ahead.
Okay. My name is Anuradha, and I'm from New Delhi, India. And the challenge, like the Zoom meetings, we are having Zoom meetings, but I still feel that the virtual team building concept, that that element is missing. You could call it as trust, or collaboration, cohesiveness, whatever you may call it as. But that thing is missing. What we can feel when we are together physically, but here virtually, that element, I feel that is missing. And that's the reason I'm here, to understand how we can do team building virtually.
Perfect. Team building virtually. You know, again, when we did this in the early stages, 20 years ago, I brought it to an experiential education conference. We hooked up 2 webcams to laptops, right? Remember when webcams were separate? And we actually had people in 2 different rooms, but we hooked them up by our own small internet. And what we did with that is that we just had people tell stories from their childhood for a total of 20 minutes. We did this with multiple people, and we were able to show that with the level of trust between the 2 people rose on average by 20%, just by getting them to share here on video. So all the things that you're looking for can be done. Okay, perfect. Everybody's checked in, so hopefully you got an example of what Go Ahead Caller is like. So let's continue. So we've established a speaking rule. Now I'm going to go to the next part, and let's go to the chat window. So if you can go to the chat window, can you please chat in your LinkedIn profile or the URL of your company or something you feel comfortable with? So for instance, mine is linkedin.com/in/CEO John Chen. Yeah, and you can click on these. Okay, great. Patrick did it, John did it. So while everybody is chatting here, what I suggest to you, this initiative is called Back Channel Chat. And what it means is that show people the chat early in the conversation in the meeting and tell them to encourage to use it just when others are speaking. So like, for instance, right now I'm speaking, and so we can't really have an interactive conversation. I'm presenting. And so what you can do though, is that you can have your own sidebar conversation here in the chat. And I do this all the time when I'm in somebody else's webinar, because I just want to see if, one, is somebody paying attention to the chat? And number two, I quite often find the person I really want to meet. It's not the speaker, it's somebody who's in the audience. And I find that they're very interesting and they're responding to my stuff, and then we have a great conversation. I actually really want to meet that person. The chat can help extroverts get your ideas out without interrupting, right? So if you're having a thought, just get it out and put it on the chat room, because otherwise it's very frustrating looking at the screen going, I want to say something, but my hand's been up for an hour. So just get it out and put it out in the chat room. But I also find that it helps the introverts. Introverts are being bombarded by audio and video and slides. And quite often the introverts have the answer to the challenge. And so you can get it out, right? Once you get it all after consuming all this information, it's very easy to put it in the chat window. So you'll have creativity and engagement there. Let's go through a quick list. Let's see if I got everybody in the chat room. Anuradha from India, if you can please chat. I don't see your chat yet. Mrs. Tennis, I see. Chuck, I see. Debbie Ann is a chatty person. She's definitely, let's see, Florence is there. John, yeah, did you see John is there? Chris is definitely there. Health.ok.gov, very cool. Leanne is there. Patrick Manning is there. And Princess, of course, is there. Okay, so Anuradha, oh, there you go. I see it now. Perfect. Thank you very much. We've got everybody in. So now I'm going to give you your first team building assignment. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, sorry. Dramatic music. Okay, here we go. Your goal is to chat to A to Z in the chat room. You got to do it one letter at a time. So this means that Patrick can't go A, B, C, D, F, G, and hit return, right? No. Patrick, if he says A, Patrick can't say B. He has to wait for Debbie Ann or Princess or Chris to say B. And then somebody else has to say C. You have to restart. So if you missed a letter, if you go A, B, D, or you repeat a letter, A, B, C, C, right? Then you will have to start over. So you can't talk while you're chatting A to Z, Chuck and Patrick and Chris and Florence. Yeah, but you can't. But if you miss a letter, you can talk until someone chats A to start. Well, I was gonna say if anybody had any questions, but you guys look like you're already busily along. So let's go ahead and continue on. So let's see. Patrick said E. Brigitte said F. Chuck said G. Chris and Anuradha said H. So you guys repeated a letter and you have to start over. Brigitte A. Patrick B. Anuradha B. You got to start over again. And Anuradha, remember, you cannot chat twice. B and C is not a legal move. Patrick says A. Chris said B, Chuck said C, Debbie said C, Florence said D, Patrick said A, holy cow. John said B, Brigitte said A, Patrick said A, Chuck said B. John said C, Florence D. Oh, Anuradha said D too. Brigitte said E, but Patrick said A. Princess said B, Leanne said B. Florence said C. Patrick said A. Leon said A. Princess said B. Florence is laughing. Patrick said A. Leanne said A. Princess said B. Anuretta said D. I don't think we're, oh yeah, are we on a valid one? A, B, C, D. Oh, again, Chuck, you cannot chat twice, just to remind you. John said A. Patrick said A. Chuck said B. Princess said, I will take H. I don't know what that means. Anuretta said B. Debbie Ann says, why don't we get a rhythm going? Patrick says A. Debbie says B. Chris said C. Florence said D. Anuretta said D. Patrick said A. Brigitte said A. Florence said B. John asked a question. Anuretta said C. D, A. Patrick A. Brigitte said B. Florence said C. Chuck said D. Debbie said A. Okay, so let me just, so you can pause for a second. I will answer John's question. He said, could there be connectivity issues involved? Probably. I mean, we have India, Oakland, and the United States on here. So let me just check. Did anybody remember all of the rules? Yes, would you like to see them again? Patrick, you're on mute. If you're talking, I can't hear a word you're saying. Okay, here, while Patrick is figuring out what he's saying, or maybe he's on another call.
I'm talking to myself.
Oh, okay, great. Let's just remind you, right? Chat one letter at a time. You saw the violation of these rules twice in a row. You cannot chat twice in a row if you miss or repeat a letter, right? Can't talk during A to Z, but if you missed a letter, you can talk until someone chats A to Z. So Debbie has repeated a letter, A and A, so she has violated a rule. So you can actually use the audio line now. So do you guys want to say anything?
We can do this.
Okay, Patrick says we can do this. What else? Anurata says it's fun. At least she's having an awesome time.
We need to come up with some kind of rhythm, so that we maybe wait a certain amount of time after somebody puts up a letter.
Okay.
Well, I think that's a really nice idea. I've done this with kids live plenty of times, and there's not really a fix that I know of. Even digitally, I imagine that's a nice idea. We could try it. I just don't think it would actually fix it. It's like we really have to just, I don't know, it's like a sensitivity issue, sort of.
Could we go in alphabetical order by last name? And so whatever the letter is next, then you would just go by last name. So for example, I'm A, and maybe I put A, and then I think alphabetically, I think we have first and last names for everyone.
But that defeats the purpose, doesn't it, John?
How so, John? Restate the question.
If we went in a certain order, like of our last names, was that what you said, Princess? Or
yeah, just take turns by last name.
I think that doesn't that defeat the purpose, John? I don't know.
What's the purpose?
Sensitivity as a team, developing a rhythm of as a team organically.
Organically is your word, but develop a rhythm as a team, yes. And FYI, John's last name is not on his, I guess, no, it's not on his title right now.
Okay, I'll own organically, but just having done this live with people, like, I know that the purpose is to develop a rhythm.
Other ideas? Or John's last name?
Could we?
I think we should try the idea that was given, go in alphabetical order by last name, because if I do this with kids, it's about them coming up with the rules and the rhythm within the rules. So it's making your own box within the box. And somebody suggested that we do it by last name, alphabetical order. And I think we should at least try that until we are told we cannot.
Okay, that sounds awesome. And then also maybe we could raise our hands, use the little raise your hand thing.
Oh, we got a Saints fan.
I like that. Let's see, where is that?
What if we all keep our cameras on? Would that help?
Yeah, I can't see everybody's picture at the same time. I'd have to be like scrolling back and forth.
True.
So I think we just make the rhythm based on your last name. So first we should maybe all put our last names in so we have those. And then we should go in order. So for example, tennis, which would be me, I wouldn't go until after whoever it is that has a name before me. So if we all put in a last name, we can see what the order is.
We don't even have to do that. We can just assign 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you know, we could just make numbers and then we could just go in order too.
Well, that's easy.
So like pick a number right now. You're number 1, the lady that just talked.
Debbie,
Yeah.
my name is Anuradha Batra. So my name starts with A and my
So
last
you're
name
number 1.
is B. Do you want me to make B one? A, B.
Yeah.
I have both.
BA. B1.
So it sounds like we're changing it now. So we're all going to pick a number and then we're
Who
going
wants to be 2? Who
I'll
wants to be 2?
It's my favorite number. I have to be 2.
Okay.
Okay,
This is
just
2.
clarification. Am I supposed to write the alphabet of my last name?
No, just write A. You're going to be A and then we're going to go in order. So you're number 1. This other
Okay.
lady's number 2. I'll be number 3. Who wants to be number 4?
I'll be
Okay.
4.
I'd like to be 5.
5.
Chuck will take 6.
Okay.
I got 7.
Got
Okay.
8.
Good.
8. Yeah.
Who's 9?
Leanne will
Take
take
9.
9. Oh,
Okay, that's okay. I'll be 10.
Good.
That should cover us unless John, our meeting person is participating. There's
John,
10.
would you like to be 11?
No, thank you though.
Okay, so the last person is who, so that A knows when to follow you?
Chris.
Okay, so Chris, after Chris, we begin again.
Okay,
So-
after Chris, I have to start again. Right? I mean, I have to continue that, right?
Yeah, so there we go. We're
Okay.
gonna start now.
Okay, so I'm starting. I simply say A. Oh, sorry. 1 second. Is that okay?
And yes, and reminder, no talking now. Anurada said A, Brigitte said B. Debbie Ann, C. John, D. Princess, E. Chuck, F. Patrick, G. Florence, H. Leanne, I. Chris, J. Anurada, K. Brigitte, L. Debbie, M. John, N. Princess, O. Patrick, P. Chuck, Q. Lawrence, R. Leanne, S. Chris, T. Anurada, U. Brigitte, V. Debbie W. John X. Princess Y. There it is. Debbie Ann jumped in with Z. Bravo. Bravo. Okay, great. Let's just check in now. So remember, I told you about self-facilitating teams. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. The questions are, what happened? So what did you learn? And now what? The first question is, what happened here, people? Anybody want a commentary? Again, raise your hand or unmute and say your name. Everybody's drinking water.
We did a really good job. Yay.
Thank you, Debbie Ann. And Debbie Ann was one of the first to talk and suggest by audio that you should work together. What else happened during this? Anybody else?
I followed what Debbie said. And in
Perfect.
fact, others, everybody said, I followed.
Which is great. Anuradha, you're in India and you're still an amazing member of this team that helped this team succeed. So thank you so much. Let's continue on the questions, right? Which is what? So what? So what did you learn from this? What did you learn from this experience?
Collaboration.
Let's go to John and then Anuradha. John, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, this is John. I was the one that questioned whether we were defeating the purpose by establishing an order.
Yes.
And in fact, that turned out to be totally immaterial because we got through we achieved our goal by working to do an order. So thank you. I learned
Oh yeah, sorry, go ahead, John.
I guess learn to be flexible to like other ideas about how to achieve our goal.
Be flexible, right? That's really the key. So you can see, John, I don't know, why you thought it was defeating the purpose, but when I do team building, I tell people about the hard rules and the soft rules. The hard rules are the ones that I tell you can't break. They're like Sarbanes-Oxley's for accounting, right? Which means that you can't repeat letters, right? You can't cheat like that. But the soft rules are the rules that you invent in your head. And your team is doing this, by the way. They're inventing rules that don't even exist there, and that is preventing them from getting to the level of efficiency that you want to. John, can you say any more about that? Like, why did you think it was defeating the purpose? I'm just curious.
Well, because in my case, I had experience previously with doing a very similar exercise with like teens in a group setting to establish, more of a team feeling. And so they do it with, in my experience, we've done it with absolutely no guideline as far as who goes next.
Yep.
And it's incredibly frustrating sometimes. But that's sort of the point, is that they learn to wait for each other and be sensitive to what each other's doing. But that's also in an in-person setting, which makes it much different than a virtual setting.
Yes, and hopefully each of you went through this, right? If you go back, and I forgot to remember to tell you to do this, but I call playing doctor and patient. Patient is, you're a member of this team trying to solve this challenge. Doctor says you're looking at the overall, like, what am I feeling and what is happening in the team dynamic here, right? And so you go through all the stages of hilarious, laughing, frustrated, right? Not achieving the goal, to achieving the goal, right? In about 10 minutes. And that's really one of the key parts of the exercise here too. Remember, the lesson was related around the topic of rhythm. And you can see what happens when a team is not in rhythm. You guys were like all over each other. So the last question, of course, is now what? Now, what is somebody going to do differently in their virtual team meetings? Does anybody have an example of something that they would do and they would do different based upon this experience? I'm looking for my amazing educators to bring us some enlightening lesson. How about you, Princess? You're a consultant. I know that. We'll go to Florence right after you.
So one thing I would do different after this lesson is I would make certain I understood the rules.
Serious. The number of teams that ask questions. If you remember this team, I was going to let you have the opportunity to ask questions, and I believe Patrick had already chatted A. And that's the way most teams go, like, oh, I got it. I see the rules. Boom, let's go. I got this, right? And sometimes you don't. And so I can tell you from my research, 23 years of leading over 2,100 team building programs, you want to be in the top 20% of all teams, ask questions. Ask clarifying questions about the goal, and you'll discover something totally different. Florence, what do you got for us?
Shoot, I forgot now. Well, like Princess was saying, I think it also is useful to repeat the rules.
Yes.
Because like you repeated it, so that was useful. Also, like I mentioned earlier, I really feel self-conscious being in the camera.
Yes.
But I mean, I see the advantage now, and
Yes.
you can see everybody because there's actually an option in the upper right-hand corner where you could see tiles, so I could see all.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I apologize. If you're not in gallery view, click the top right button and get in gallery view. It allows me to see all of you at once. And I'm going to send you a Zoom cheat sheet, Florence, that has the list of all the key functions that you need to know. Debbie, I'm going to come back to you in just a second, so if you can hold on to your comment. I just want to be able to close up here. And for those who need to leave on time, I want to get there. You've seen now this perfect example of rhythm, right? Look at this is you at the end here. Amazing set of group, right? In rhythm. You can build this rhythm in your online meetings. And here are some simple tips on how to do that. Start and end each meeting exactly the same. That stability will help you create the stability that you used to have in your face-to-face meetings. And all of your teammates want it, right? I had another person, she came on and intuitively has been doing some icebreakers with her group. And they started a meeting without it. And they're like, no, you do the icebreaker thing right before they start. And so they started demanding it. They want it. The second one is find a rhythm for sharing and solving information. As you can see what happens when you didn't have a rhythm, but now, right, between Debbie Ann and John and Bridget and a few others, you all figured out and how to establish that rhythm for sharing and solving this problem. You need to continue to develop that to solve the challenges, the more complex challenges you have. The next tip is bring your culture online. So if you say things like, I think what I heard you say is, or if you have a mascot or some other piece of culture, bring that online because you're bringing something from your old pre-corona culture and bringing it online. And that helps people feel that security that they want. And if you don't have anything that fits, make new culture. I got a chance to visit Zappos last year in Las Vegas, and they are the kings of creating amazing culture. Just innovate, right? You got to innovate and adapt here. So the next secret I'm going to show you is behind the scenes. Yeah, hi, Bridget. Thank you for the flower. Create a participation map. If you're wondering how I'm able to track that everybody has been able to chat, everybody has been able to have checked in, I create a participation map for my registration list. This gives me the guidance of like who you work for and what are you looking for, right? These are all the things that I do to prepare for before I meet with you to make sure that our time is on track. This will also give you the guidance where you can see if somebody is talking too much or if somebody has not given a comment, and it allows you to engage them. There's nothing more better than engage, right? If Debbie Ann's getting a cup of coffee and I'm like, hey, Debbie Ann, what do you think? She'll scramble and get over to her mute button and go, oh, hi, yeah, John, I'm here. I'm with you. And it's very hard to check out when the facilitator is calling on you. Participation map, I'm going to send you a copy of it. And if you're not great at digital, do an analog version. Just write the people's name and keep a little clipboard in front of you and check off names as people engage. It's one of the greatest tips you'll have to make sure you engage, especially you bring it with all 30. It's going to be a challenge, you know that. Okay, here we go. So as we log into the last place, look at now when you have goals and rules and rhythm, you can create results. And my hope is that your results is that you can create online meetings, right? You have the ability to get work done in under challenging conditions. That you can help and lead your companies, and you can develop new ways to help. By the way, your team finished the A to Z in 2 minutes and 41 seconds. There you go. There's applause. I can tell you that the slowest time to date, oh, let's see, the fastest time to date, just FYI, you're not the fastest, was 51 seconds. Right? Okay. And
can you tell us the rules one more time?
Yeah, I'll show them. Actually, if you stay afterwards, I'll show you, okay? And then the slowest team to date, they took 10 minutes and 35 seconds. And they did it. They're the only team who ever did it by not audibly talking to each other. It was crazy. They figured it out. They also didn't chat to each other. They established no order, but they figured it out. They actually chatted without doing it. So anyways, those are the results. Let's just check here on the solution. I told you there's an acronym. It's called GRR, right? G-R-R-R. What's the G stand for? Just unmute and say the word.
Goals.
Goals. That's one. Now the first R. What is the first R?
Rules.
Rules.
Oh, look at this. Great. Awesome audience participation. The next R is
Rhythm.
Rhythm Nation. Debbie Ann is loving the Rhythm Dance Nation. And the last R is
Results.
Results. Everything that you want. Excellent. I'm just going to close with this. I'm here in Seattle, and this is a 4-star, 3-generation restaurant. And on March 6th, remember March 6th? Gosh, that's over a month ago. That's whack. They changed their entire business plan. And they said this: times are changing, and so are we for now. What they did is they created a drive-through bagel shed. This is a restaurant that used to cost like $200, $300 a night, right, for dinner. They're creating burgers and veggie melts. And for dinner, you can get a home-cooked dinner and a bottle of wine delivered to your doorstep. This was the press from 10 days ago. They had a line down Highway 99 to get into their restaurant. They sold out of the bagel shop at 10:06 a.m. This is a restaurant that's kept all of their people employed. And look, they're employing social distancing. They're doing drive-through. They have speakers out here playing music. They made it fun, and they're doing it right. As a follow-up to this, they actually sent a reply all email about someone complaining about the very expensive meal. They said, you need to turn your oven on to reheat it to the right temperature. He was complaining that it should be served steaming hot. Matthew Kim replied to it, and he said, if you're dissatisfied with your order, can I suggest you donate your $120 fee to Feeding America? This is a food bank for America. This caught wind, and all the people that were on the email thread started donating to Feed America. Canlis, the restaurant itself, donated $500, and by the end of the night, over $10,000 had been contributed to this mistake that Canlis made. It was a mistake. That's how cool Canlis is doing it right. They're adapting and they're helping people. Again, my name is John Chen, the CEO for Virtual Team Building. Thank you so much for participating. If you got value, I only ask for one thing. You share this, geoteaming.com/virtual team building. And you also now qualify for Virtual Team Building 2 and an invite to my Virtual Team Building Facebook group to learn my latest techniques. I'm just going to close with this. I know if you have to leave, please let me know, and I'll make sure and address you early. If you can stay, again, I told I would stay till the end, but I like to close with the last word. I'd just like to know from each of you, what did you get from today from your investment for 60 minutes? Excellent. Does somebody have to leave first? Let me know. Go ahead, Mrs. Tennis, go ahead.
Okay, I'm unmuted. I liked the A to Z thing. I learned that it's still okay to think outside of the box. I tend to do that anyway, but for many years have been told you can't. So I just do it kind of under the surface. And I love that John promotes that. And I'd like to thank you especially for offering this training for free. Especially to those of us that are on overload. And I just want to say to everybody else, John does a team building activity with our entire school every year. And so rather than canceling ours this year because of the school closures, we are asking him to help us craft one online so that all of our students can do the team building online together. And I think it's really important for us to support small business. And that was one of our ways that we were able to do that. So thank you, John. It was nice meeting everybody. and good luck with your teaming.
Thank you, Mrs. Tennis. She is one of the Disney award-winning teachers, as well as been inducted to the Teacher Hall of Fame. If you want to learn about education, go talk to Mrs. Tennis. Thank you so much. Let's go to Princess.
Thank you.
Great. Bye, Mrs. Tennis. This is great. John, I love the acronym, GRR. It's funny that it kind of describes maybe some of the frustration that people might be feeling with this adjustment, but at the same time, giving people tools and solutions. So I think that's awesome. And I love what you said about meeting other people. So this has been a great way to keep it interesting and reaching out to other folks. So thanks. That's what I got out of my 60 minutes.
You're welcome. You are not alone. Everybody has the same challenges, and we're talking around the world, Princess. Let's go to Florence. She's got to find her mute button. Ready?
I was just waving to Princess. I didn't mean to raise my hands.
Too late, Florence. I got the introvert in you out. Let's go.
I'm grateful for this meeting because it gives me ideas of what we can implement. Our dog is barking. I'm sorry.
That's
what
okay.
we can implement in our institution. Thank you.
You're welcome, Florence. And if you want to see something faster, qualify for Virtual Team Building 2. I teach it every Wednesday at 12 o'clock, and I'll show 15 of these initiatives in 90 minutes. Because I know you've been through this, I can go fast. It's really awesome. Okay, thank you, Florence. Who would like to go next? Let's go to John.
Thank you. I just want to say that that was doing that A to Z exercise was a really good lesson for me in flexibility in terms of previous experience versus the virtual experience. So if nothing else, that was great. And also to see how many people are making this big adjustment is reassuring.
Well, thank you, John. It's so nice to not feel alone, because you can easily feel alone in Corona land. Let's talk to Patrick.
Yeah, I do appreciate, like the other person said, about the your willingness to offer this for free. I appreciate that. I also appreciate a moderator who can keep things moving so that when you get to the end of an hour, it feels like, oh my God, how did that hour just go like that? So I felt everything that you offered was pretty quality. And I also was very interested in hearing that your book is going to a new edition, because I read it. I read some of the reviews on Amazon, and I thought, well, sounds nice, but they had some points about 8 years. 8 years, a lot can go by in 8 years. So I'm looking forward to your next book coming out. But a lot of good points, a lot of good info today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Patrick. You're right. And I did get some reviews. Some of the stuff ages out. It's technology. It moves so fast. Like at least 5 of the initiatives I have in there have websites that aren't available anymore. But the techniques are all still here. And the beginning of the book, I show how to design a piece of that. That still has not gone away. Leon, I believe you raised your hand, or I might have raised your hand for you.
No, I think I raised my own hand.
Yay.
So I do appreciate that ideas for getting people engaged. I'm having another of my full region meetings. We're doing them once a week now, and I'll have another direct reports meeting now that I have a call-in for my folks that don't have internet access. And now I have some ideas about how to structure that instead of it just being a free-for-all. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Leon. I love the free-for-all was families who have a dysfunctional family, and then you put a Zoom call on top of it. It was a recipe for disaster. It was awesome. All right, Debbie Ann from New York. You're on mute.
Yeah, somebody actually just decided to call me. I'll shut this. Okay. Two things. I wanted to say that you should never think that there's only one way to do something, and to listen to the other people's ideas, because I've also done training events with you in person. And every time I think that the last people figured it out the best, the next kids come up with a better thing. And I would like to make a suggestion to add to your GRR an E, an A, and a T. Easily attaining teaming, and then it'll be great.
I thought she was going to say GRR.
Awesome, Debbie.
Easily, what was it? Easily
attaining teaming.
Attaining teaming. Thank you very much for that. I just want to eat. It's like lunchtime for me, to be honest. That's all I thought. Thank you,
Love
Debbie.
you guys.
Ann.
Thank you.
For being here. Who else would like to go? Oh, Chuck's got his hand up. Let's go, Chuck.
Hey, John, I really appreciated that. I really like the point of you can't expect to get alignment without a lot of communication. And I think that's just so much more important now than it was last month when we got to do it in person.
Yeah. Yeah, Chuck, with construction teams, I've done some work with some of the other larger construction teams here in Seattle, mostly face-to-face, and I'll be curious to see the challenges you're having with construction now, especially, like, I know a lot of projects got halted, but I know also see a lot of people still working. So thank you, Chuck. Hope to check in with you later. Who else would like to go? Did I get everyone? Oh, actually, I got everyone, right? Outstanding. Well, let me just close with this. Again, I'll remind you, I welcome you to stay in the 30 minutes afterwards. We have some Q&A, but thank you so much. What did I always get out of this? This is my bright spot in the day. This is my opportunity to help people. You know, it's so great. It's like, I feel like Rocky or some of those other movies. I've been training, right, for 20 years. And now we tried to sell this stuff for 20 years and people are like, oh yeah, we have remote teams, but we're not interested. And now suddenly people are interested. Librarians, I'm going to need you because I'm going to need your book need your help to get my book into your library. And more importantly, to counteract the stuff that's happening on the Amazon reviews, I'm showing this in person, what happens when you do. Thank you so much for your wonderful comments. I appreciate each of you. And now you can do this one, which is thank you, applause, and bye-bye. We'll see you next time, everyone. Thank you. And